Hello, my name is Twin Crows, and I've been building this tool for Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. The tool is called Hostile Architect, and it's meant to really make the building process a lot faster and easier and more accessible to everybody. And yeah, so this is just, just the day after. I'm just doing a hot fix here, but I figured I'd make a video just to overview the different changes and improvements for it, and also to kind of walk through kind of the very beginning to the end of how to make a store. So this will be the same process for if you're making a hospital or like a fire hall, or even any kind of like civic kind of building. That's the same as building a store. And yeah, so I'll show you how to do that within the new system here. But before I really get into it, I just wanted to thank everybody for the encouragement and everything, because over here on the Reddit, I just figured, hey, I'll post this thing up, make sure that people know it exists. And yeah, so thanks a bunch for that, because this is that article here. I've had a lot of support. Makes me feel like the time was well spent and everything, especially when I look at the number of upvotes compared to the number of upvotes for the most recent patch too, because I know these guys are putting a lot more work into this than I'm putting into this. But so thanks everybody. I know that you guys are really interested in this tool and everything. So yeah, so thanks very much. I also had a conversation with Turn. Turn, super helpful. Kind of taught me a few more things about how to set up the roofing and stuff. So I'll show you what I've done as a result of that conversation. And yeah, so let's get into it here. So first step here again, we have the painter. This is kind of where you spend a lot of the time in here. Um, to start it, you want to click on this 24x, and that's going to generate all your tiles. You have this little slider here. You can, zoom in, zoom out. A lot of this stuff I talked about in the first walkthrough. So if you haven't seen that one, check that one out because I'll be skipping some of that basic information just to save time and everything. But the specific thing that I want to show you guys is this section here. So we have a region to spawn at, and this is replacing an earlier, there was a toggle button, but after I was talking to Turin, and Turin said that that didn't quite work right. So this should be the right way to do it now. And this is the start of it. So there's some cool stuff I can do with region in the future. But for now, what you get is you get anywhere, which is going to really be anywhere on land. So it's not going to be in the ocean yet, but maybe we'll be able to get there eventually. But over here we have anywhere. That's just going to be in the forest or in the field or anything like that. And then the thing I want to show you specifically, because anywhere was what I used to generate, but now we have this thing where you can generate it in the same regions as houses or parks, and these are kind of cool. Um, Houses and parks and stuff, these ones usually have a radius between each other, so houses can be right next to each other. Meanwhile, you're not going to see parks super close together, and then shops and civics are kind of in between, I think. But you see less repetition between different, you know, um, between the same kind of shops and civics. You're not going to have a hardware store right next to another hardware store. Meanwhile, you could have a few parks that are the same together in a town. So just different ideas. So if you want to have something that is pretty rare, you'll probably want to make it a shop. Meanwhile, a park, that one's a little bit less rare, and then houses are very common. So just kind of things to think about. And the thing about this one too, I'll show you, I'll create a civic and we'll create some kind of little pharmacy or something. And Yeah, so civics, what that means really is that that'll be your hospitals and post offices and things like that. Within the code, they're kind of considered the same as a shop. So, it's all the same category. So over here, what I'll do next is we're going to go to our palette and we're going to start building some stuff out here. So uh, we'll leave the default palette because the floor, that's fine. I don't need to change it much. But we're going to make another one, and I'm going to just make this just a wall. Oh, and then here's the thing. So here's one of the other things I added was this ensure has roof, and that was one of the things that came out of that conversation with Turn, where because they specifically designed and set up the roofing system. So what this does now is it's going to I'll show you towards the export side of things because the map gen right now it actually is set up to generate the ground floor plus a roof. So this will make it a little bit easier for you guys who want to get into making multi-tile buildings. because essentially what it does now is by default it generates 2 floors. It's going to be the ground floor and then the roof. But it's pretty easy from there. Where anybody who's more advanced, you could actually set up a three layer house where you have the ground floor, a second floor, and then the roof. So yeah, so that should be kind of cool. I'll discuss a little bit more about that once we get to that part. But over here, what I wanted to do is I'm just going to select my basic type. So I'll go to my walls, and then we'll just make it another basic wood wall. I've also been working on putting more options in here because these are not all the options that are available. So I've been just kind of going through the terrain list and adding that in there. Another thing I wanted to highlight, because I don't know if I mentioned it before, is you can type in anything here, and as long as it matches to a terrain that exists, it'll work. So if you're working on modded terrain or anything like that, feel free to you can change this and really write in whatever you want. Same thing for furniture, and then it's the same thing with the items too. So those are totally, whatever you type here is going to be what it is. Uh, so yeah, just make sure you have, make sure that items or furniture or terrain exists. So next thing I wanted to do is I'll just make a door. Okay. And then just because we'll make it a pharmacy, let's make some nice big windows. Let's say laminated glass there. Cool. And I'm just going to go and get my hex colors. And let's get, for the window, let's get this. It's just got to be the hex there. You just want to get rid of any hash or things around it like that. And then the door, let's make that kind of a light brown. And that looks pretty good. So in order for this to be kind of a real, pharmacy, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to add a container. So let's make it a fridge. We'll go to our storage furnitures, and let's make it a glass fridge. And on the ground, it's going to be a just normal floor. And let's see, let's make white linoleum for our fridge. And I'm going to change the ground to be also that white linoleum. And let's get some more hex colors. So I'll make the ground's going to be this one. And then our fridge, I'm going to make that the same color. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the painter here, and I'm going to make our little pharmacy. So another thing I want to do is actually I'm going to set this road connect so that we're going to connect to a road at the north there. And yeah, there we go. Just going to add some windows and put in those floors. And then here's the fridge. Put some fridges here. Oh, and one thing I remembered is I forgot to define any items. So I'm going to go into my palette here. So I'm going to add an item here, and let's make it public safety, hospital type, medical items. Let's try that. I'm not sure what exactly that'll be, but that's pretty decent. So we have our little pharmacy here. Yeah, so we're going to go forward to the export now. And I'm just going to type in all of these boxes here. This is a little bit different now. The only thing different is now you have this section here. So this one I've labeled it in cities only. So this is really just if you're using the any of those options which are regions to spawn at. So these ones here. If you're just using those ones, then you'll need to add this sixth file, but otherwise don't worry about it. So over here, I'm going to go to, we'll call it the demo clinic, and then TC demo clinic for the name, make the author TC. and TC demo clinic 1, and we'll call it demo clinic. Great. So then now that that's all filled in, we just click on export JSON here. And then over in your CDDA folder, you want to go to your data folder, your mods, and then go ahead and create a folder and call it after your mods. So I'm going to call it demo clinic. And within it, what we want to do is we're going to copy paste all of those boxes into the files here. So we want to create those files named after what it's specifying here. So this one's called modinfo.json, and we'll paste that in. Interesting thing about these files is it doesn't really matter what the name is. But it helps keep things organized. Plus, if you're going to be handing your files over to anybody else to, maybe help you work on it, it's good to have those files that's the right name. Okay, cool. So this is a good instance where I can start to explain a little bit more about those changes. So now what it does is it's going to automatically generate 2 layers. And so the first layer is just your normal, what you painted. And then the other one is actually a roof. So what I have now is the tool, it generates a roof for you. And the interesting thing about this is if you wanted to do a 3-story building, let me show you how to do that. So you would grab this, okay, and then you just paste it. And then you can say this one is actually going to be not the roof, but the second floor. And so I think you'll find that's pretty cool. I'm going to go like this and actually just paste right over it. So if you imagine, I don't think I'll do this as my full thing in this demo, but essentially that's how you make a 3rd floor. And the thing about this tool is that it generates a single layer. So what I would do if you wanted to make a multi-floor building is do your first floor, export that, and then do your second floor, export that, and then just merge in the files so that you have your 3 layers here. But yeah, so that's how you do it. Hey, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I've just deleted it just because I want to show you, just the basics without doing anything special. But if you're more advanced, that's how you set up those multi-tile buildings. Okay, so over here we've imported that map JSON. Next, we're going to do the next one, which is the palette file. Okay, so there's our, you can see our palette. And then, just one thing while I'm thinking about it is I just wanted to show you one of the differences here. So within the regular floors, so just going back to the floor thing, you have your palette, which applies per map gen. So for that one, the palette's only applying to this one. Down here, this one actually doesn't have the palette; it has a separate one. And so for this one, what those dots mean is they mean the flat roof here. So just in case you're like, oh, why are they all dots? I made my dots something else. Because for instance, up here, my dots mean floor within my palette, but up here they actually mean the roof. So, just kind of an interesting, difference. So look at my palette here. You can see the dot means white linoleum. So it's just the difference, right? Within those map gens, they each kind of pull from a different set of terrains for their palettes. So the next file is called overmapterrain.json. And over here, you can see now what's happening because it's creating that roof. It actually creates the 2 different tiles or the 2 different overmap terrains. And they have slightly different stats here. You can see the C cost, that's the visibility cost. So like kind of how much your visibility gets reduced. So can you see past it or not when you're walking around in your map? It's a little bit harder to see across a building than it is across a roof. And then if you want to change any of your symbols or anything, this is where you do that still. And you can also see that the flags there is set to sidewalk. That's because we decided that this was going to be a city tile. Okay, so then the next one, we're going to make overmap specials.json. And in this one, this is kind of a fake Overmap specials file. I just called it the same thing. But normally this is called something else. I think it's building or multi-tile buildings.json or something. But just for the interest of making the app simple, I combine this in. So the difference here is that if you select the city, any of those city types, it's actually going to create a city building type. And so one of the differences here is that it doesn't use the occurrences like it did before. Um, Within the last version of the app, you used to see that occurrences, but if you're using a city building type, the occurrences don't actually come into play at all anymore. And then another thing that's kind of cool about this one is you can see your overmaps here. So now there's actually two overmaps. In the first version, you just generated the one because it wasn't generating a roof. And so this is the same thing. So if you're creating another, a third floor, all you do is come in here. You would actually copy that last one, paste it there, and then over here, you can see how it goes 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, that corresponds to the X, Y, and Z coordinates. So it'll be X, Y, Z. Uh, and then over here, this one, the Z is 1, which means it's above. And so if you're making a 3-story building with the third story being the roof, what you'd want to do is you want to come in here, make that one the third, and then also just change your name here. So if you didn't make it the roof, you would make this level 2 kind of thing. But yeah, that's just sort of, if you want to go advanced and make a multi-tile thing, that's all you would do is you just change your points there to kind of stack on top of each other. It's a really similar thing if you're making it multi-tiles wide too. So yeah, so that's kind of neat. Um, so that's pretty good. That's enough for the overmap specials here. What we're going to do next is go to our text documents, make another one, and we're going to call this one regional map settings.json. And so this one is the sixth file. So you only need the sixth file if you're generating a city type. And what happens here is all it does is it adds it to the regional spawns. So over here, you can see there's a regional overlay. It just adds it to all the different regions. And it adds in your building into your cities. And so like before where we had cranked those occurrences up, I've cranked this number up here. So what this is the weighting, so how likely it is to spawn this item as opposed to any other items. So this one, it's cranked up pretty high. Once you want to release it, you'll probably want to take a look at, try to find another regional map settings file because there's one in the default CDDA files, and that will show you kind of a realistic, a normal number that's more, fitting. But this one's cranked up just so you can find it pretty easily when you're testing. But I think normally buildings, I think houses are like 50, and then some other structures. It all kind of depends on how frequent you want your building to show up. But just because we're doing testing, I'm going to set it to 1,000 there. And there we are. So those are all our files. So now what you can do is you can go back to your CDDA directory and you can just launch the game. Okay. And so what we're going to do here is I'll go into world. I'm going to create a new world. You can see I've been doing a lot of testing and stuff. I have a few more things around, but we have the demo clinic. So that's the one we're going to add on, and then we're going to generate our world. Call it test demo clinic. And then we'll go new, make a random character, start them in our test demo clinic world. And so now it's going to load. Again, if you see any errors in here, it's definitely worth checking them out. This is where you'll see your errors. Luckily, hey, no errors. Okay, so now we're going to go into our scenario. I'm just changing this to in town because it's a little bit more convenient to test, but I've learned a few other things about the debug menu. So one of the things that I love now is if you open up your debug menu, again, if you don't have that bound, just go into your keybinds, type in debug, and then bind debug menu to a key. But I'm going to press it and then I'll go map and then reveal map. So this is pretty cool because it loads the whole OMAP and you can take a look around. It's pretty cool. It's kind of, I I really appreciated the in Dwarf Fortress where you have your regions. So this is pretty cool if you want to just explore around and see what's going on. But what I'm going to be looking for is our demo clinic. So I'm just looking for all these. There it is. So we have an occurrence, and this is great because I can see that it spawned correctly in the city, which is where it should spawn. And so I'm gonna go teleport over there. We can take a look. So here we are. We can see it. So there's our kind of a strange clinic. It's made out of wooden walls and laminated glass. And you can already see because those fridges are open. You can see what's in there. And so it looks like it spawned correctly, which is pretty awesome. I'm also gonna just take a run over to. I see this drain pipe. So I'm going to climb up here just to show you. I mean, there's nothing special about our roof, but if we defined anything special about it, you'd be able to see it there. But you can just see it's all flat roof there, which is pretty cool. That's exactly what we want to see. And then we're going to climb down, and I'm just going to teleport so we don't have to hear the zombies moaning and groaning. And there we go. So you can see there's our clinic, right? And it's spawning those items. And it's, the specific thing we were looking for. There's the entrance too. You can see the entrance is facing the right way, which is pretty great. Um, but yeah, the whole, this update really was about making sure that the you can spawn those buildings within a city correctly. And yeah, it looks all good. Just gonna see if there's any more demo clinics around, just because I'm curious. There's a lot of clothing stores. And then if you don't see it in one specific place, what you can do is you just go into this area because when I use that debug reveal map, it just reveals the one OMAP chunk. So if I go over here, I want to hit map reveal map again, and we can take a look and see if there's another one in the next town over. There it is. So there's another one. There's a demo clinic up there. Let's go see if there's any other ones. All right, well, I'm not seeing any, so I'm pretty happy with just seeing those two demo clinics. I was just really curious to see if there was another one. But yeah, so that's it looks like it all works. You can see that it's spawning. If you choose to spawn a city building, it's going to spawn it there correctly. And yeah, so that was the whole thing about this update is adding that multi-floor, adding that roof ability, and setting that up in the template so that when you guys export it, it's a little bit easier to get into building multi-tile buildings. Um, and and as well as kind of this update was about making sure that everything's spawning in the city correctly because before it was just spawning it all, all over the place. So uh, yeah, so I'm pretty stoked about this. I think this is pretty cool. Always kind of getting towards a really good format. Now I think that should be uh, most of the things that really needed to get figured out for this to be, a good usable tool. Yeah, so I'm just going to exit out of that and then just say a few more words about kind of some of the work on this and kind of just ideas of where it's going. One thing I was looking at was looking at regions because I can spawn in cities and stuff, and this is pretty cool. But obviously, there's more regions in the game than just anywhere or cities. There's things like forests and swamps and things like that. So I've been looking into the code a little bit to see if I can add those different options there, so you could create something cool in a let's say a forest or things like that. Um, so yeah, those are some of the things I'm looking at right now. The other thing that I'm specifically wanting to do, I might do that today as well, is adding some more options, making sure there's all those different terrains are all available and stuff like that. I think I've gone through, I think just the floors, I've added more floors this update, and maybe the doors or something like that. Yeah, I think I looked through the doors too. So yeah, so I'll probably get through some more of those things today. But yeah, so thanks for your encouragement and everything, everybody. This has been a lot of cool. Been really cool to create this thing, and it's we have such a great community, and just the way that this game is set up, so it's open. You want to get as many people creating this stuff as possible, so that it's you create so much infinitely replayable content with this kind of roguelike game. So um, yeah, so I hope you have a great one, and you'll probably hear from me again. I like to do these updates. It's good to, give you my side of things and my perspective of what's going on. Um, so yeah, thanks a lot, everybody, and I hope you have a great one.